from Southern Maryland's weather leader. This is a JB Weather Alert.
Good evening, I'm Forecaster John Bordash with you here in the Storm Center this evening, and the situation we have unfolding across much of southeastern Louisiana is just downright cataclysmic. We have a widespread catastrophic impact across parts of southeastern Louisiana this evening. Hurricane Ida has not really weakened all that much since it made landfall. It made landfall as a strong Category 4 storm. It remains a Category 3 storm 8 hours after landfall, and that would be due to the fact that much of southern Louisiana, south of Interstate 10, is swampy and marshy. I want to say much more of the land south of Interstate 10 is going to be much more swamp and marsh than it is actual land that we're used to. So that has allowed Hurricane Ida to remain rather strong this evening. While the water isn't deep here, the water is very warm, really helping to feed into this system. But it will begin to gradually weaken as it moves further inland into the state of Mississippi. We should see this down to tropical storm status by tomorrow morning. However, if we deal with the threat we have ongoing right now, we have just widespread devastation across much of the New Orleans metro area, down towards Grand Isle, on over towards Huma. This region all day today has seen wind speeds upwards of 80 to 110 miles per hour, even a little greater along the immediate coastline. Much of this region has seen over 8 inches of rain and continues to see heavy rain, and the energy provider for the city of New Orleans has reported that the entire city is currently without power due to, as they say, catastrophic infrastructure damage that they have received to their power grids from the system. So that will impact several different things here. Not only will it impact the ability to communicate with people inside the city of New Orleans, it will also impact hospitals in that region. It's going to impact the flood pumps that we have inside of New Orleans. The only silver lining with this storm is that thus far, while we've seen a good 4 to 8 feet of storm surge across this region, the levee system is holding up, so we have yet to see that part of the disaster we saw with Katrina 16 years ago today. But the important part there is that we didn't see the levees break with Hurricane Katrina until after the storm had left. So we're not necessarily in the clear here. We're going to have to continue to monitor this. But this is just... It is insane to see what is going on in some southeastern parts of Louisiana, and it's actually a little hard for me not to get a little emotional thinking about it. For those of you that have followed JB Weather long enough know that Hurricane Katrina was a storm that got me interested in meteorology, and it is just surreal to me that 16 years to the day we have this monster of a storm bringing the same, if not worse, impacts to this region, and we're going to see this continue to go through much of the night. So right now, the city of New Orleans is under a flash flood emergency. This is because we have seen rainfall amounts in this region of 4 to 7 inches, with an additional 3 to 6 inches of rain being likely. So kind of adding all of this up, this means much of this part of Louisiana, southeastern Louisiana, is probably on top to say between 1 to 2 feet of rain. And we've also seen several different storms have the ability to spin up brief tornadoes and move on shore, and we have one of those right now just to the east of Slidell, Louisiana here. This is going to be until 10 o'clock Eastern time, and for those of you that are watching that are not in the Eastern time zone, that is what all the graphics on you see on the screen, they are in Eastern time. So for your Central time, you're going to want to take an hour off, so this tornado warning goes until 9 o'clock Central time, so for about the next 10 minutes or so. But we are continuing to see widespread impacts across this region, and it is not going to get any better. What I want to do is take a quick look at precipitation totals. This is, let me turn some of these layers off here, and let's get some things together. So we're taking a look at some precipitation totals right now. This is giving us an idea of how much rain radar is estimating has fallen since the storm has begun. So in New Orleans, we are estimating over 7 inches of rain has fallen. Western parts of the New Orleans metro area seeing well over 10 inches of rain here. We can see that the computer system here is actually maxing out on the amount of rain it's estimating has fallen over 10 inches. In this area, this is the amount of rain that has fallen really just within the last 6 hours or so. So these are crazy amounts of rain. We have seen some water come over some of the southern levees, not necessarily in New Orleans, but just south of New Orleans, so flash flood emergencies are up there. But when we talk about the city of New Orleans being without power, and we don't know how long the entire city will be without power, but without them being on power, the ability for them to pump water out of the city into the local waterways will be highly dependent on generator power, and we don't know how long that'll last. So if any of these flood pumps do indeed go out, we're going to be talking very quickly about a flooding catastrophe here in New Orleans, and it's possible that that is already ongoing because much of this 7 inches of rain here in New Orleans is what has fallen within the last 3 to 6 hours, and these flood pumps typically only are able to pump out about an inch of rain an hour. So this is a very dangerous situation we have ongoing across much of this region, and we are going to continue to watch this. Taking a look here at radar, let's kind of denote where things are. This area in here would be where the eye is. We are seeing the eye really contract now that it's over land. We don't have a clearly defined 15-mile radius eye like we did earlier today, but this is where that eye would be. The eye wall right now is generally in this region. So you see this donut shape, so the innermost part of this donut would be the eye. The outermost portion here is going to be the eye wall. That's where you're going to find those 115-mile-an-hour winds. That's where you're going to find the heaviest rain. But then we have additional areas of heavy rain you see just really circulating through here as we continue to track Ida to the north. So if we were to put on regular radar here, and let's go ahead and get this to a place where we can loop the radar so we can really see how things are tracking here. Let's go ahead and give this a animation here over the last hour. You can see the storm is barely moving. It is crawling northward. So these places here near the place just to the west of New Orleans, they have continuously been in this eye wall. These are the areas that are going to continue to see the 100-mile-an-hour plus winds, the rainfall rates of 1 to 3 inches an hour continue. This will eventually come to an end, but it probably won't be until sunrise tomorrow, which means we likely still have probably another 6 to 9 hours of this. And it is just hard to even imagine this ongoing. Generally, this southernmost line here, you see that runs through Lafayette, Baton Rouge. This would be your I-10 area, so it's really areas south of here that are not that are more swampy and marshy than they are actual land. I know that the background imagery here makes it seem like land, but much of it really isn't, which has allowed the storm to stay as strong as it has as it continues to push to the north. And right now, winds are sustained at around 15 miles an hour. 115 miles an hour, and we should actually be getting the brand new advisory in here right now on Ida. We will wait on that to come in, but again, as of last check, this was up to down to a 115-mile-an-hour storm, which still makes it a major hurricane right now as this continues in. Let's go ahead and take a look at these, and again, these are going to be estimated wind speeds here. Our computer system does have a little bit of a difficult time trying to really render hurricane speed, or the wind speeds here, so let me go ahead and get that loaded up here. And I don't think this is probably the furthest thing from the actual ground truth. Let's go ahead and get this loaded up here. So we can see where the eye is right in here. That's where we have winds virtually that are non-existent, but we are still registering winds up over, and these would be sustained winds up over 60 to 80 miles an hour here through parts of New Orleans, getting into Hammond, on over towards Slidell, really right up along Lake Pontchartrain. And as we zoom out, it's really these areas here within the white and the pink, that would be your hurricane force winds, and then areas from this light yellow shading onward would really be your tropical storm force winds. So we're starting to see these pushing at Hattiesburg on over towards Macomb, Brookhaven, Crystal Springs, Laurel starting to get in on tropical storm force winds. Baton Rouge is getting in on some of those gustier winds as well, and New Orleans really does seem to continue to be the bullseye here for what we're talking about with this storm. Let's go ahead and take a look at Futurecast radar here for the storm as we continue to push things on through here. Let me make sure I get this loaded up correctly. And I want to make sure I actually have the Futurecast timestamp on here, not the current time. So this would be radar estimating for right around now. It's underdoing a little bit of the rain on the western side, but this does show that heavy rain here through New Orleans on over towards Slidell. As we continue this forward on over towards 11 o'clock, we can see that eye moves north of Donaldsonville, starting to get over or just to the north here of Lake Pontchartrain, but we continue to see the heavy rain move through these same areas, and it really isn't until 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock that we see additional clearing. Even by 3 o'clock, we still have these bands of heavy rain, and let's just take this out to 6 o'clock now. And if we were to take a look, and we still have this heavy rain here, if we just were to take a look at the Futurecast rain amounts here, so let's go ahead and get that loaded up. Let's go ahead and switch this over to total precip. This would be additional rainfall amounts up over 10 inches near Slidell, getting near an additional foot of rain. Hammond seeing an additional 6 to 10 inches. New Orleans seeing an additional 4 inches on top of the 7 to 8 that they've seen now. And if we were to push this all the way out to 2 o'clock tomorrow, you can really see that we continue to see heavy rain across this region. This would be the reason why, if I can get this loaded up, I want to make sure that we turn that off. If we come over here, take a look at the flash flood guidance. This area here in purple would be the area that has an extreme risk of flash flooding this evening. I think goes without saying. This is the region that's going to see the heaviest rain. If we were to come out to tomorrow's outlook, this area here in red, this expansive area here, this is going to be a significant risk of flash flooding, and these are very rarely issued. So much of Mississippi tomorrow. Under the gun. This won't just end tonight once the storm moves in. Then this is going to bring that heavy rain and high wind threat with the potential for spin-up tornadoes further to the north. So this is, again, just such a serious situation, and this is something I just haven't seen really since Hurricane Katrina back in 2005. It is just... it's impossible to really kind of understand what's going on here, and we likely don't know the full extent of what's going on in this region right now. So it looks like our computer system's frozen up a little bit on us, so what we will do is while we give that a reboot here, I will come on over to a different one of our weather graphics here. Let's bring it on over here. So this would be a live look. Again, this is still our William Richmond Inc. radar. We can see all the flash flood warnings in effect here for the areas in green. I do want to see if we have the newest update in, and the latest update on Hurricane Ida does bring it down to 110 mile an hour winds, which brings it down to Category 2, but that difference really, it's so minute, and it's still a very strong storm as it continues to push here to the north. So this is going to continue to be a very dire situation, and just one that is gut-wrenching for me to watch unfold and to forecast for. So we will see these impacts move into the Mid-Atlantic, not to this degree, but we will see impacts move into the Mid-Atlantic by midweek. I have the latest forecast up on that potential over on jbweather.net. I encourage you to go look at that. We could definitely see rainfall amounts between 2 to 4 inches in parts of our region, potentially locally up to 6 inches of rain in northwest DC. But this is going to be a long night for areas in southeast Louisiana. While I can't guarantee I'll be covering the storm all night, seeing as I have classes tomorrow, this is going to be, I think, a storm we talk about for decades to come, and I think the coastline down here in southeast Louisiana is going to be forever changed by this storm. And I think this will be the new standard bearer, breaking Hurricane Katrina's reign on that. This is going to be the storm we compare all other storms to. So it is just heart-wrenching for me to watch. But please stay safe. If you have any interest down here in Southeast Louisiana, if you are in this region or you're over in Mississippi, my heart goes out to you. I'm sending prayers for you, and I am praying that we get out of this with a very minimal loss of life and very minimal damage, but given what I'm seeing, I don't know if that'll be the case. Very sombering. But I'm Forecaster John Bordash. Have a nice and safe one, and please keep it tuned right here to JB Weather for the latest information.
Check the forecast anytime online at jbweather.net.